we're moving on to step 4 of writing our Of Mice and Men Compare and Contrast informational essay. So at this point, let's go ahead and go back and talk about the parts that you should have already completed. So let's scroll back to the very beginning of our document. So at this point, you remember where the quick links are up here. If you ever need to see one of the videos or check your due date, you can look right here. You have watched the video that taught you how to navigate the document. You have written your introduction. You have written your first body paragraph. And now we're moving on to our second body paragraph. So some things to look at. Make sure you check your due date. Make sure that you're aware you can come get some extra help during seminar if you need it. Let's go through our steps. So first, just like we did with the prior body paragraph, you're going to gather some evidence about your topic. Let's go ahead and refresh our memory about what the topic of this paragraph actually is. So you're going to be talking about your marginalized group in America today. So the last paragraph you did, you talked about the history of this topic. So I'm doing an example about ageism. In my prior paragraph, step 3, I talked about the history of ageism. Now I'm going to talk about ageism in the modern world today in America. That's going to be the topic of this paragraph. So I'm going to be doing some research that helps me find information about that. Now, before I actually start looking at resources, I should probably see what I actually have to have in the paragraph. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the second step, and I'm just going to look this over. So let's look what we have to have. So while in some ways blank, insert the name of the marginalized group you named in your thesis statement, have successfully fought for and achieved social equality, they continue to face discrimination and poor treatment by, insert the name of the group of people who've treated people like this badly today. So like, I'm going to be writing about older Americans, older people, being mistreated by younger people. So that'll be my thesis statement. All right, let's look what else I have to have information about. Describe one way treatment of older Americans is better than it was in the past. Now, I touched on this briefly in my other paragraph. If you've watched that video, I need to make sure I pick a different example than what I chose in my earlier paragraph. I need to make sure I have some information here about an example of discrimination against older Americans today. I'll either use a direct quote from a source or I'll paraphrase it, so I'm going to have to cite that. I'm going to need another example of discrimination against older Americans today, and I'll either use a quote or I'll paraphrase, but I have to have citations. So I know what I'm looking for. Examples of ways in which older Americans are still experiencing discrimination. I need 2 examples, and I need one thing that's better. And it can't be the same thing I used in my previous paragraph. All right, now that I've got that framework in mind, I think I'm ready to start looking at some resources. So in your own document, you're going to see that first we found a resource for you. You're going to look at the resource we found for you and take some notes that you think you'll be able to use when you actually go to write your paper. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my resource and open it. And there it is. But let's say I'm finding that that hyperlink isn't working well. If I scroll down here, it says click here to access a PDF copy of the document. I've gone ahead and placed a PDF of each of your articles that we pulled for you into my personal document repository, so you should have no issue accessing it there. And so if I pull that up, you can see it's exactly the same document. So mine's kind of like a book published online. And you know, I caught myself a little off guard when I was working on my prior body paragraph because I didn't record the page numbers where I found some of my information, and it ended up making me a lot of work. So I'm going to make sure I do a little bit better with that this time. So look at what I have to do. I go on ahead and it says look at pages 7 to 13, so I kind of know where I'm looking. And I'm going to type notes about issues with and examples of age discrimination happening today. All right, so 7 to 13. I'm going to hop on over there. I'm going to scroll. Oops, page 7 to 13. All right, so let's look and see what it says. I'm going to skim through. Okay, so they're talking about, this is a great example of modern society and people who are older being really disregarded. Instances of this invisibility, like just ignoring the older Americans, occurred in the horrific aftermath of Hurricane Katrina when a person's class, impoverished, and race, Black, were dominating factors in survival. Older persons in their own homes and nursing homes were often abandoned. So I think this is some information I feel like I could use as an example. I'm going to go ahead and copy that information, and I'm noting the page number this time, page 2. And I'm going to go ahead and type my notes here. And since this is a quote, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put it in quotation marks. I'm not paraphrasing. And I actually used this source earlier in my paper, and that may happen with some of you guys too. I know that there wasn't a specific author, so I actually will be taking the first name of the title. And since I took the first name of the title, when I go to do my parenthetic citation, I'll italicize it, make a space. The page number is not italicized, 2. Close your parentheses, punctuation at the end. All right, so that's a good example. Like, I already know I want to use this for one of these. All right, let's go back and let's see if we can find some other examples. If I find at least one more, I can probably quit and go on. All right, so let's go ahead and see what else. Oh, this is interesting. Older women in particular experience ageism. They're 80% of the people in nursing homes. Okay, so it looks like I'm skimming through this. So when people are subjected to ageism, they end up having poorer memory performance and more cardiovascular disease. That's kind of interesting. So I think this might be something I could use. And I know I'm going to have to make that shorter or paraphrase it. But that way I've at least got what I want to use. I'm going to come back over here. So there's 2 examples. I'm pretty set. And just like before, I'm actually going to, it's the same page, so I can just copy and paste that since it didn't change. All right, looks pretty good. Let's see if there's anything else there. Because, okay, I've got my 2 examples, but I also need to talk about ways that things are somewhat better for people today. I mean, I guess people are living longer and alone. That might, I mean, maybe I could use it. I think I may need to look for that when I go to look for my own source. Let's go ahead and see what else. This is some reasons why ageism is still perpetuated. This is why it's not great, problematic. I think, let me just look back here. Transformative generation. So if something's transformative, I know that's usually positive. And I know I have to talk about something positive going on with older people. Let's see, something about the baby boomers. So it's kind of like now that there's all these people that are turning 65 by 2025, they may be able to impact change because they're a larger proportion of the population. So I'm going to actually copy this, but I'm also going to take some notes that aren't a direct quote. So let me go ahead and do this. And once again, I'm going ahead and doing that. Let me look at what page number that was. 9. Don't italicize my number. Oops, 9. Okay, now I also want to paraphrase that. So baby boomers, like people born right after World War II, and I'm just abbreviating because I'm just taking notes right now. After World War II are going to make up a larger percentage of the population by 2025. These older people will be well educated and used to fighting for social justice. These are the same people that were involved in the civil rights movement and stuff, right? I'm going to just put this in my own words where I think I can use it. And that came off that same page right there. So I can just copy that. I think I spelled combating wrong. I did. 1T. See, when I get that squiggle, it tells me I did something wrong. If I catch it early, it'll be easier on me. And I just want to go ahead and look a little bit more. See if there's anything here. Okay, so I think we're about to that point. This is all the terrible things that are happening to people. This looks like, man, 2 to 10% of older people are abused. That's really a high number. That's upsetting. But only 21 states maintain an abuse registry. That's not so good. Ooh, 5 million are victims of financial exploitation. So I think I'm going to go ahead and look at some of these as well. I think I'm going to talk about elder abuse a little bit. I may want to do some more research on that too. And that's page 12. Yeah, I feel like that may be really usable information as well. Yeah, and that's just their footnoted information. I'm just going to clean it up to make it a little easier. And this is one where I suspect I would paraphrase the information. Oops. Better italicize. But not the number. Okay, so there's a lot there to work with. So I feel like I've got all sorts of great examples at this point that I can use about examples of discrimination. I have a mediocre one about the way older Americans are treated better today, but I feel like I could use some more information here. That probably needs to be something I do some research for. So I give you guys usually a set of criteria when you go to look for your own resource, but I know I probably need to look up information about how things are better for older Americans today than they used to be. So I'm going to do a search to that effect. Let's see, what can I Google? I'm going to say ways in which life is better for the elderly today. Let's see if I can get a hit. That's about improving their quality of life. This looks interesting. How can we build a better society for older people? Yeah, I feel like I kind of didn't do the best search here. I might need to refine this. Maybe I can say policies that benefit the elderly. That might take me to something about some laws. I mean, we used one example in the prior paragraph. Let's see what we might have. And you notice I'm doing this in real time, just like I would do if I were a student. Let's see here. Oh, that looks interesting. I kind of like this idea that people are able to be more self-reliant in old age. Like you would get to make more decisions for yourself and live with more dignity and things like that and be more independent. But this isn't working great for my topic because it's all talking about Europe and I have to focus on America because that's where the book we're reading was set. Yeah, let's see. Policies affecting older adults. Let's see what this has to say. Maybe there's something good I can use here. National Council on Aging is reputable. I've heard of them before and done a little research. So let's look and see. Long-term services and supports, Older Americans Act, federal budget, healthcare, elder justice, public policy blog. There's a lot to work for here. Let's see what this advocacy toolkit is. How to advocate for issues you care about. Honestly, I could almost think of talking about how this organization exists specifically to mobilize people to speak out about issues that benefit older people. wonder what this elder justice is. Explore how we're working to combat elder abuse. Well, I think I want to talk about that. Protecting senior programs, healthcare, public. I think maybe there might be something here. So, they're lobbying for some improvements in healthcare for the elderly. So let me just skim through this article. I think this is promising. So it looks like one thing that's better than it used to be is that they're working to make sure that older people have access to healthcare through Medicare by making it easier to sign up and getting the information out there so people don't just get old and can't go to the doctor. So I think that is something I can work with. So I think this information here is one way that things are better than they used to be. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on over here with my notes. Now I've been taking notes, but I have another step to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in quotes. And this takes me a minute because what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up to make this easy if I decide to quote or paraphrase later. So let's see if this has a specific author, because you're always going to use the author's last name. I'm scrolling down. I'm looking for the name of a specific individual. Looks like there isn't a specific individual. So what we will do is we will take the first word of the title of the article, healthcare. So we'll take the word health and make that the first word of our citation. So since it's part of a title, I have to italicize it. Just like that. All right, now I'm not done. Notice that there's another step that you cannot forget to do. It's to create a works cited entry using EasyBib. Now, for this first one, I already used this same resource in the previous paragraph. It was a really good and really reputable resource with a lot of information. So if that's you and you used the same resource twice, you'll be able to copy and paste it down here. Now, if that's not the case, you're going to have to do an original works cited entry. Here we go, paste entry here. All right, I'm feeling pretty good. I can actually go ahead and delete that out so I don't have to worry about it later. Okay, so now I've got to do a works cited entry for this other one that I think I want to cite. So I'm going to go to EasyBib, open it up. And I'm going to create citations. Now, you may have to watch an advertisement. I think it makes you watch one once every 48 hours. I was on here earlier today, so I probably don't have to do it. Look, it took me right to it. I'm going to go ahead and copy the URL for the article. And I'm going to hop back over here. And I can look at all my different options. Newspaper, online video, online database. Look at all these choices. I'm just going through seeing if I have a great option. You can always click on website, and that works pretty well most of the time to get you most of what you need. Yeah, I think that's going to be my best option. All right, so here I go. I'm going to do my URL. Maybe with any luck, someone else has already cited this article, and it'll make a beautiful works cited entry for me with minimal work. That would be stellar. But if not, I'm still going to have to check and make sure I've gotten every bit of information that I can. All right, so it looks like it found it. Let's see if we can cite it. Now here's the thing, you can't just click cite. You have to actually look at the boxes and make sure that the right information is in the right boxes. If you're not sure how to do that, please talk to your teacher. So let's go ahead and see what they've got for me. It always takes a minute to think. EasyBib can be a little pokey, so do bear with it. We're spinning. We're going. Thank you guys for being patient. I ended up having to click it again. Sometimes that's a thing. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we have. So Healthcare Pilot Policy Senior Advocacy. Healthcare, protecting coverage, ensuring access. Okay, so this looks right for the title. Let's go ahead and hop back over there and see what else we've got. We didn't have a specific author. We already looked for that. The website is the NCOA. And honestly, we can probably be more specific. The publisher or sponsor would be the actual name of this organization, which is the National Council on Aging. That's who publishes this. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. They didn't catch that. National, let me just double check that again. National Council on Aging. Okay. And when was it electronically published? It didn't find that for me. Well, let's see if I can find it. Usually the date of electronic publication is going to be in a couple spots on an online article. Sometimes it's right up here at the top. And sometimes it'll be down here at the bottom. Sometimes there'll be a specific date of publication, and sometimes there won't. So I'm just looking to see if there was at least a year of publication. I'm not seeing anything. So I can show you what I would probably do in that instance. I'm going to go to the main homepage and see if they've had an update on the year of publication for the entire site. Let me see what I got down here. Yeah, usually it's somewhere down here. If not, what you can do is you can just go ahead and do what I'm about to do here. So let me show you. You're going to talk about when you actually accessed this instead. So it's 2021 when I accessed this. And the time right now is 3:32 p.m. And it's January. So I'm putting the date that I accessed it. And it's the 4th. Let me see if there's anything else here that I can work with. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and complete my citation. Start boxes are strongly suggested. It's just going to take a second to pop up. Ah, here we go. And you can actually see, since I was on here earlier today, some of the other articles I cited earlier in the day are here. And here's the one that I need for this one, copy citation. And I'm going to go ahead and move that over here where it says to paste the entry here. I'm going to do that. All right. Okay, so now I'm actually ready to do some writing. So let's get started with that. So the main idea sentence for this one is really simple. You're just going to insert stuff into these blanks and type it out. So I'm talking about aging and ageism. So I'm going to say, while in some ways, older Americans, that's my group, have successfully fought for and achieved social equality, they continue to face discrimination and poor treatment by younger people. Okay, so I've got my main idea sentence. I just had to fill in the blanks, type it out. That part was pretty easy. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to describe one-way treatment of older Americans is better today than it was in the past. And so remember, I knew that I had a pretty decent one here. So I think I'm just going to paraphrase this and put it in my own words instead of using a direct quote. So I'm going to say, organizations like the National Council on, let me just make sure, aging, yeah, just checking, on aging, have been able to ensure that more older Americans are able to access health care by improving access to Medicare enrollment. Okay, and so I'm going to go back up here. I didn't actually use a direct quote. I just paraphrased, but I still have to cite my source. And so I'm going to go up here. Health was what I used in italics, and there's no page number for this because it's just an online article. So I would do that. Okay, so now the easier part. Describe one example of discrimination against older Americans today. And I knew I had a couple good ones from that first source. I think I might go ahead and paraphrase this as well. So I'm just going to think how I want to paraphrase it. You know, there was that statistic we saw between 2 and 10%, and I think I didn't even get it up in my notes, but I remembered the number. So I would say like somewhere between 2 and 10, 2% and 10% of people, they define older Americans as over the age of 65. Experience abuse. However, despite these alarming numbers, only 21 states have systems in place to keep track of elder abuse. Okay, so I paraphrased again. I did not use a direct quotation. So once again, I'm going to do what I did up here. So let me find where I found that. Yeah, here we go. Ageism 12. I'd already done a little of the work, so I just have to copy and paste that down here because it's important I use my page number. All right, so we need another example of discrimination against older Americans. And we had a couple good ones to pick from up here. Let's see what we had. Oh, yeah, so we can talk about how older persons in their own home and nursing homes were often abandoned. I feel like this "were often abandoned" is going to be really, really important. So let me go back down here. What year was Katrina? I can't remember. Let's see if it says. You know, because it's something that's common knowledge, I will not have to cite this. So this is another thing that gets kind of weird sometimes. I'm going to hop on over here and just open another window because I can't remember. You'd think I'd remember. What year was Hurricane Katrina? And I won't have to cite this. So it's 2005. Yeah, my son was a year old. I think I was pretty foggy with a baby in the house. I couldn't quite remember what year. All right, so as recently as 2005, actually, let me say this because that's actually not that recent. When disasters such as Hurricane Katrina in 2005 occur, older Americans are likely to, and I want to take a direct quote. The thing about being abandoned seems really important, and I can't say it better than that. Oh, where is it? Let's see. Yeah, I feel like this whole bit, I kind of want to work this in. Like, I don't want to take that whole block, but I want this piece. So I'm going to scroll down. Let me see if I can to older Americans. Oh, here we go. I think I figured out, because but the trick with inserting a quotation is you shouldn't be able to tell where my words end and the quote starts. Otherwise, that sounds really rotten. So let's see if when I read this aloud, if it sounds okay, because I can do some of my work now and save myself a lot of editing later. So when disasters such as Hurricane Katrina in 2005 occur, older persons in their own homes and in nursing homes were often abandoned. Okay, that's pretty good. And I think I need to explain this a little bit in the next sentence. So, so even in America today, we are likely to neglect our older citizens when, tragedies occur. I'm going to say we are not equipped to help them adequately. So make sure that you have that explaining step in there. It's really important. I felt like the quote itself didn't really tell me everything I needed to know. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to smoosh this paragraph together now. All right, so I'm going to get rid of all this blue stuff to start with. Let's get rid of that. And notice there's still some weird spaces in between. Those have got to go in a minute here. Let's get rid of all of this. I'm getting rid of everything that isn't my own words. Now I've got to take all these little sentences and put them together on the same line. Because see, a paragraph doesn't just have big spaces in the middle of it, right? All of these are going together. So let me go ahead and... Okay, so now I actually have a paragraph. I need to indent this first line. So now I've got a rough draft of my second body paragraph. Looks pretty solid, and it looks like I'm going to be ready to go on to my third body paragraph next.